New Hampshire Democrats have a word to describe Sherrod Brown. electable. Cleveland.com. Hampton, NHU. There's a common word that people keep using to describe Sr. Sherrod Brown. Brown kicked off the second leg of his Dignity of Work listening tour through the 2020 early primary states Friday at a roundtable on paid family leave in Hampton, New Hampshire. Reminiscent of he is kind of nicely centered in his position on the political spectrum, said Gary Patton, an 81-year-old retiree and co-chair of the New Hampshire Democrats Senior Caucus who attended the event. He's liberal enough. How Brown is finding a way to occupy both a liberal populist and moderate lane is a strange phenomenon. He's often rated, but moderate, populist or whatever label. Democrats at Brown's Hampton event, like Mark Mitchell, a 69-year-old retired state police detective from nearby Barrington, seemed more interested in winning than in a litmus test. There's a purity test with the Democrats for some reason, Mitchell said. They eat their own a lot. Brown's profile has also grown some since he's started teasing a presidential run after his November 2018 Senate re-election victory. He's made the round. We've seen him countless times on television, Mitchell said. I admire him. That's all a good sign for Brown as he continues to mull his 2020 prospects. Many Democrats. The warm reception Friday in New Hampshire will likely embolden Brown, who has 4 stops in the state on Saturday. Similar to Iowa, Brown is starting out with smaller towns before his biggest event as the keynote speaker for the New Hampshire Young Democrats in Manchester. Unlike in Iowa, he started in solid Trump country. Hampton is in Rockingham County, an older, wealthier community that includes the state's entire seacoast. It's about 40 minutes with a population of more than 300,000. It's growing. Hampton itself has a population of about 15,400. The median household. Only 3 Democratic presidential candidates have won the county in the past 100 years: Lyndon B. Johnson in 1964, Bill Clinton in 1996 and Barack Obama in 2008. There are liberal and compare that with Cresco, Iowa, Brown's first stop during his trip last week. Howard County in Hampton is a different type of economy than Brown typically preaches to. The town swells in. The closest Ohio comparison is probably Vermilion, a quaint Lake Erie community 45 minutes outside Cleveland with a maritime vibe. Whether Brown can raise his profile enough in a state like New Hampshire, especially with regionally popular senators Elizabeth Warren but the whole thesis of Brown's Dignity of Work message is that it works anywhere, whether it is rural Iowa or seaside New Hampshire, and his playbook, for now, seems to be working: visiting smaller towns and generating buzz as the Democrat who won in Trump country by being his liberal self instead of moderating his stances. 4 of the 5 he's done well in Ohio, and Ohio is not a blue state, said State Senior Scott Sherman. Along the way, Brown is courting New Hampshire power brokers. Former House Speaker Norelli served as 2008 New Hampshire Campaign County Chair and 2008 Democratic National Committee delegate for then Senior Hillary Clinton of Cohen, a longtime activist in the state who supported Sanders in 2016, said in an interview with that Brown was one of the only candidates who could resonate with Democrats in both the coastal areas and the heartland, adding he hopes the Ohio senator will officially jump in the race. Asked about some Democrats' refusal to back a primary candidate who doesn't support certain issues like Medicare for all, Cohen said winning the presidency was more important. We've got to connect with the majority and we're not going to get perfection, but we can get good, Cohen said. We can get good. Even the few in the Hampton crowd who were interested in some of the deal breakers were receptive to Brown. Liliana Morgan, I want to spend more time looking at this bill, Brown told her. Like I said earlier, unlike Brown's interaction with an activist in Iowa, who chastised him over his support for a Medicare at 55 system as opposed to a Medicare for all style health care system, Morgan said she was happy with Brown's response, though she did want a little more. I think that I would like if he was a bit more solid on it because it's important to me and the people I know, she added. Most importantly, she said she'd consider voting for him.
Raindrop, drop top. start smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,